Welcome to Wild Child Records. I'm your host, Jay Stoyan. We're in for a treat today as we have on the show today, we have musician Matt Luloff. This is going to be very exciting, so stay tuned and we'll be right back with Wild Child Records.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to the show, Wild Child Records. We present to you musician all the way from Ottawa, Matt Luloff. Matt, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, it's nice to see you again, Jay.
This is great. Look at the backdrop you have. Wow, now you're a musician. I see the guitar case. I see the drums, the amps. That's awesome. I love the mic too.
Yeah, man, this is a 1973 SM7. So it's the original SM7. This is like serial number, I think, like 286. It's the same microphone that Quincy Jones used when recording the Thriller album with Michael Jackson of the same vintage. I just love it. It's great. Like it's an incredible dynamic microphone.
What a backstory. That's a great backstory to start this interview. I mean, Quincy Jones and Thriller, and like I think I heard Thriller yesterday and I still got like goosebumps.
It's so good. It's just
so good. Like Michael was just so ahead of everybody. Like
this guy would write. Yeah, I mean, he would write songs on demo tapes and like use his voice, for all of the instruments, and then hand that over to Quincy Jones, who would interpret like kind of like all of his like beatboxing and whatnot, and come up with these like irresistible soundscapes, right? Like Quincy Jones knows how to pull an orchestra together and make something happen, and like those records that he did with Michael are unbelievable. Like he's a genius, absolute genius.
It's funny talking about Michael because obviously we all know how talented Prince was. Oh, maybe more talented than Michael in his own way.
Unquestionably.
But back in the day, I mean, unless you're a true digger of history, musicians, and nobody really heard Prince. Like you never heard about Prince. Like there was Michael. Like they were almost like the same age. But for some reason, Prince was like almost like locked away where Michael had everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, Prince. I'm a huge fan of Prince as well. Like massive fan. Prince played every single instrument on every single song, until the Revolution, and he put together a band. I still believe that don't get me wrong, Michael Jackson's the king of pop.
Yep.
But there is I believe that the perfect pop song was written by Prince. It's I think it's 1973. It's one of his earlier records. I've got it in here somewhere.
Is that when he performed all of his own instruments when he went to Warner Brothers, whatever, when he was 17 and said, I need to do it all myself. And they went, okay.
And he plays everything on it. I wanna be your lover is like
that's right.
The best pop song ever written. So yeah.
Now, was that his first hit? Was that his first hit too?
I don't know. I think he may have had a couple of
minor hits.
Minor hits, but that was like I think the first real big one. And it's I mean, if you haven't heard that song, like that is like the best pop song I've ever heard.
Like this is great. Like here I am sitting here. I haven't even really introduced you, Matt. So let's start the show. Let me kind of introduce you. So again, on the show, welcome to Wild Child Records. On the show, we have today musician Matt Luloff. And Matt's not only a musician, Matt is a counselor in Ottawa, which we're going to talk briefly about. This is a music show, but he's also a combat vet. So he's a trifecta. You are one amazing man, Matt. So thank you so much for serving in Ottawa, helping the Canadians. And of course, everybody loves music.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so let's shift. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about your career. Let's start in the past. How did you become a musician? Where did the inspirations come from? And then we can talk about your skills and talents.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you grew up in the suburbs. I grew up here in Orleans, the area that I represent, and always been a huge music fan. I was one of those weirdos that would buy tapes, and if it didn't have liner notes, if there's a song that I really like, I would sit down and like write out the lyrics. I was always really interested in the poetry of lyrics. Um, I was the kid in the high school band playing clarinet, but like learning how to play like Glycerine by Bush X at that time, with the lawsuit or whatever, because there's a
Ugh.
Canadian band called Bush, right? So they had to add the
Yeah.
X here in Canada. Anyway, um,
Ha!
so I was a big nerd, and very self-taught. And then when I was about 13, my cousin was playing bass guitar in a band that he had formed with some high school friends or middle school friends. And so he asked if I would like come out and try out. And I was like, well, I don't play any instruments. Like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, oh, we'd want you to sing. So I was like, all right, fine. So I went out and, we would sit in my buddy Mark's basement. We all became very fast friends. And, he would put his headphones in to the like tape deck behind him, and we would play like Green Day's Dookie from like start to finish. And he would like use the actual tape as a metronome, and we would play that album
Ah!
start to finish, start to finish, start to finish. Started writing our own songs, and then when I was 14, we tried out to play at the Canadian Tulip Festival every year. Millions of tulip bulbs come to Ottawa from the Netherlands as part of the commemoration of Canada freeing Holland during the war.
Yeah.
And we were by far the youngest band there, and we got in, and so we got to play this showcase. It was an hour gig. We're 14 years old. We had, I think 13 songs or something like that we'd written. It was like kind of like pop punk, which was very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that band naturally kind of folded like when I was about 18 or whatever, and then
That's not bad though. That's not
you
bad.
you start to get more into girls than you do the music,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I kept writing. I kept writing through it. I played in a couple short-lived bands with some other local Ottawa musicians. And then I really started to kind of pick it back up again. I was serving overseas in Afghanistan. And I had, about a 2-week period where I was kind of stuck on the bass. I didn't have any instruments with me, but I had some time. And so I went to like there was a library there, like it was they had musical instruments in their library, which is something that kind of blew me away. And, something that I helped as the chair of the Ottawa Public Library here in Ottawa to bring to the library here um, in Cumberland. I thought it was so inspiring that, you don't have to send your dad to a pawn shop when you're 14 to go and buy your first guitar. You can take it out from the library. So I did that
Very cool.
Yeah, I did that while I was in Afghanistan. I started writing.
What'd you take out? What did you take out? Guitar or
Yeah,
whatever?
just like an acoustic guitar, right?
Nice.
And so I started like noodling around on it. I wrote, I kept a journal while I was in Afghanistan. And so at the back end of it, there's just like lyrics. I had just been writing poetry. And so I put a couple of those songs to music, or a couple of those poems to music. When I got out of the military and moved back to Ottawa after my tour, I called up an old high school buddy who his brother's a drummer. He plays in a couple of local bands out here, like Radmore being one of them. He's a lead singer of a band called Cast and Cadence. I called his brother, who's a bassist, Graham McIntyre, and said, hey, let's put together a group. I got some songs. I mean, I think we could really build something out of this. So he played in bands with other people. So we pulled some people together. I like met this guy at Carleton, Josh Drazilov, who just looked like a guitarist, and we were drinking. And like back then I smoked. I was out in the smoking section. I was like, hey, do you play guitar? And he was like, how did you know? And I'm like, you just give me the vibe, man. You just
That's
give me
great.
the vibe. So he came out
Great.
and tried out, and we put together Hearts and Minds, which is still together.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is such a cool story. I love the way you sort of included the military, and I like to talk about that a little bit because I know the military has such a big section for the band and inspiration, and it really is a good positive thing. Can you touch on that a little bit about the connection with the military?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I was looking for a way to kind of get out some of those very difficult feelings and experiences that I had while I was overseas, and that's why I started writing it. One of the first songs I wrote was overseas. Was the song "But I Won't," and so I wrote this about like it's very difficult to have a long distance relationship, but it's even more difficult to have a long distance relationship and also be deployed and know that you're not going to see this person for another 8 months. And I felt myself like just so inundated by everything that was going on around me. Like, you know, I lived in a small combat outpost that we built along the Arghandab River in Panjwai-Zari, which is like kind of like the Taliban hotbed, right? And so, like, you know, you try to maintain your relationships while you're there, but you only have a certain amount of time during the day that you can do that. And I found, like, you know, in, you know, juxtaposed with the experiences that I was having of, like, you know, going on a fighting patrol and, like, you know, getting shot at and having
Yeah.
rockets fired at me and, like, having to worry about landmines, like just a mundane conversation, I found really, really difficult. So I wrote this song called But I Won't. And it's like, you know, like, I want to write about missing my friends, but I won't. And I want to write about, you know, how I miss you, but I don't. Right. And so, like, it was like kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of pop song, very easy to play, like, you know, ECG stuff, like EAG, like
Did that help you mentally too, though, Matt? I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like that's what I'm getting across. It feels like you're getting across. Like it helped you mentally just to
yeah,
sort of get over everyday issues. Like, oh my goodness, like
yeah. I mean, like, it was, you know, there were a lot of really difficult feelings, like, you know, your friends that get shot or die, or, you know, and it's horrific in war,
yeah,
obviously. And so I just started writing these songs. And yeah, man, like, when it comes to mental health, like, having that creative outlet, that way to kind of say things without having to say them, at least in the beginning, without having to be so, like, on the nose about it, and be like, yeah, you know, I was on a patrol today and this guy stepped on a landmine, blew both of his legs off, and I had to listen to his, you know, exposed tibia scratching against the canvas as I, you know, tried to run, you know, over and through great fields to get him to a helicopter. Like, you know, you don't really want to have that conversation, like, right away. So, you know, it's kind of raw. So
yeah.
using music to kind of get that out and to kind of paint those pictures, um,
'Cause
really helped.
I had another friend of mine who's actually was a musician, and he entered the service late in his life. Like I think he didn't get in until he was like 30 or something. You know, that's kind of late, I guess, maybe, right? And
Yeah,
he's a musician. As soon as they found out that he was a musician, his name is Michael Hall. As soon as they found out he was a musician, he's over the military just like came at me like, oh, you gotta come over here and we need support, like we need guys like you to play. So that's kind of why I brought that up. So I think that's amazing how you combine, you know, your service with your musical experiences and talent in a way it kind of helps you.
big time.
Helps you, right? Why don't we take a quick break?
Sure.
And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about music and more about your service and more about what's going on in Ottawa in the future. So stay tuned. We're talking with Councilor Matt Luloff. You're watching Wild Child Records. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Dave Stevens with the Disability Channel.
An inability to break out. I'm sitting by the door on the second floor, losing my 7-year war. It's not an illusion, so why the exclusion?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's about you. So,
You say you're a disability dynamo.
Joining me, and welcome to this beautiful Travelers Championship.
I only want one accolade from you.
So my story is unique, it's amazing, but it's not anything that you guys don't have inside of you. I'm not a hero, I'm not anybody special, I'm just this guy without legs that went out, and I just did it.
Stats outweigh the Democrats, the diplomats, and the bureaucrats.
This is probably your first interview down on the ground on your butt and stuff like that?
time ever,
All
baby.
right.
Eliminate, invalidate, invalidate, invalidate.
Stay with us and the Disability Channel.
Welcome back to Wild Child Records. We're here with veteran Matthew Luloff. Now, Matt's also a counselor in Ottawa, works with the Veterans Task Force. And it says here, so tell us a little bit about now, when you were talking earlier, the Governor General's Foot Guards and the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. So tell us a little bit how you mix those in with your music, Matt.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like, I joined the Canadian Forces after high school because I really didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. So, you just try things, right? You gotta stick your foot in somewhere, right? And so, I joined the Governor General's Foot Guards. Shortly after 9/11, I did the ceremonial guard. So, the guys in the big black hats and the
Nice.
red coats marching on Parliament Hill with the band in front and whatnot, and the
Love it.
bagpipes
Love
and
it.
whatnot. I
Yeah.
did that for 4 years. And then, the war in Afghanistan was starting to heat up. And so I transferred to the regular force and joined with the PPCLI. I brought my guitar with me out to Manitoba and just, kept writing songs, right? And some of the songs that I wrote while I was in Manitoba ended up on the first Hearts and Minds record, which was like, 5 or 6 years later, right? There are songs on that first record when I recorded them that were like 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
Like Complicating Matters. I mean, like I think I wrote like before I even moved out, like I was like 17 years old or something like that. And we recorded it for the first record, and then we weren't pleased with the way that it came out, so we recorded it for the full length record, and just kept I just wrote through all of it, right? And seven
That's
seven
great.
years in the Army, and it's you got to write about, if you're going to write about something, you got to write about something that's close to you, or like worthwhile, right? And
Well,
so
Loretta Lynn, right? Loretta Lynn says musicians write about what they know.
exactly.
You write about what you know, right? I
Exactly.
mean, and it makes sense because the song's going to be great if it is what you know. If you don't know, it's going to be, oh, you're a fantasy. You don't know what you're talking about. Let's
Exactly.
talk. Let's talk a little bit about the band. So tell me about the band. How many members are in the band? Are you performing now with COVID over? But you take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, like we've been together for about 13 years, right? And obviously, bands, you have people come, you have people go. Myself and the drummer are still, two original members of the band. We formed in 2009. We've recorded I think now like five records, two full length, two EPs, and we've got a host of singles. And so we started in 2009. We were playing around here in Ottawa, and then there's a radio station out here that was with Newcap before. They're called Live 88.5. And instead of having to just rip CanCon out, what they decided to do was take the money that they were getting and run a battle of the bands. They called it the Live 88.5 Big Money Shot, and it was big money, a lot of money. It started off as I think a quarter of $1,000,000 to the winner. We were in the third year, the third iteration of it, and so the winners got 50 grand. The second place got 45 grand, and I think third got
Second
25.
place gets 45. That's
Yeah,
almost
it's
as
like
much as
5 grand
first
less.
place.
Yeah,
It's almost as much as first place gets.
yeah, it's crazy, right? They wanted to make sure that they were supporting as many groups as possible, right?
Okay.
And so they set this up. They had people come out from, like, they did mentoring sessions. They had people come up, from Arts and Crafts Records, and from Dine Alone, from music publishing agencies, and they would rent out this. Well, the radio station had their own like bar, like it was called the Live Lounge, right? And so like they'd come out during the day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we'd get exposed to people, people like Gavin Brown, like who recorded loads of records with the Tragically Hip and so many other people, and he would talk about
Tony D, Tony D and Steve Mariner and all those
yeah, I
guys
know
from
Tony, yeah, I know Tony D quite well from the
You know Tony
Rainbow.
D because
Yeah,
Robert was in his band.
yeah, that's amazing, right? Like
Yeah, Tony D, yeah.
Tony D
And
is
Steve
great.
Mariner. I know Steve Mariner won a couple country awards or something like that, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I
but
mean, like,
Tony D, eh?
I
Wow.
do, yeah, because I used to do sound and bartend at the Rainbow Bistro here in Ottawa too, right?
I love Ottawa. Ottawa is such a great, great city for live music.
Oh, it's
Like
amazing. There's something
the
going on
market's
every night.
it's a great. So do you still are you performing currently? Are you practicing every week? Wow, what's the
Yeah.
current status?
Yeah, so we ended up coming in second place in that Big Money Shot. So we got 45 grand. We recorded with Terry Brown and the Beaches, who's got loads of experience with Russ Mackey. We recorded a record with Jordan Zadarozny from Blinker the Star, who's an incredible musician. He's just up in Pembroke and runs a studio up there. And so things were going great. We we're touring a bit through the Big Money Shot program down to Southern Ontario and whatnot. And then I won election in 2018. We kind of played like a farewell show at the Rainbow because not a whole lot of time great spot. Not a whole lot of time to practice and whatnot when you're a city councilor and elected official. But throughout the pandemic, I was finding myself writing again. And I wrote like a full album worth of songs, and then another one, and then like a half an album. And so the first one that I wrote, the first song that I wrote, I sent over to my drummer, and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm going to record this. Like, do you want to play drums on it?" And he was like, "This sounds like a Hearts and Minds song." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it kind of does, like I'm the principal songwriter for the band, right?" So I was like, that would make sense, right? And so
you're like John Lennon and Paul McCartney, all in one.
So yeah, I mean, so I sent it to him, he liked it, so we started recording over Dropbox, right? So like I'd record a scratch track, I'd send it to him, he'd send me drum parts, and I started mixing it here in my home studio, right? And then we got Mick, our key player, and he started playing on stuff. And then we wanted to work with a different bass guitarist, so we went to my buddy Troy. And Troy was super interested. He said, so like all throughout the pandemic, we're like sending song ideas. They're sending me parts. I'm mixing it. And then you come up with a full album that we'll release. We just released the first single off that record. It's called I Don't Wanna, which is a cheeky, fun song. It's up on Spotify and everything else, right? And so yeah, we just played the Orleans Craft Beer Festival. We're playing Canada Day at Petrie Island. We're playing the Hope volleyball tournament at Mooney's Bay. Here we're playing with July Talk and the Headstones. And
Headstone! Do you see the Headstones here? I see them all here. They come to Toronto all the time. Headstones.
They're amazing. Yeah.
Really, I know the lead. I know the guitar player with the long goatee. I forget his name offhand, but yeah, I see him all the time. This is great, Matt. Let's take another break. I want to come back. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
How's that?
Sounds great.
So stay tuned. We have on the show today, we have on counselor, musician, and combat vet, Matt Luloff on Wild Child Records. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
All about inclusion and really giving everyone a fair say.
Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy.
I am Zach Damon.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am excited. What is up?
We have a great show today.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities.
Get ready to be inspired, everyone.
We have people watching from all over the world, but also all over Ontario.
We also take a concerted attention in the veterans community.
In moments of stress and trauma, we can get a hold of ourselves.
To help make a difference for people with disabilities, to show people how to love themselves or their disability.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me, giving this platform for myself and other people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this episode of the Disability Channel of Detroit. Please tune in next time.
Back to the show. We have on the show today, we have Councilor Matt Luloff. He's telling us all about his music career mixed in with his military career and his political career. Wow, that's quite the career you're having there, Matt. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of what's going on, but let's talk a little bit about your podcast. It's very interesting how you sort of mix in everything that you do inside your podcast. So tell us what it's called and what the focus is.
Sure. So a good buddy of mine, Mache, who I've been friends with for almost 20 years now, we did some high school classes together and whatnot, and we both joined the military at different times and kind of ran into each other, once overseas, once out west. but we're both affected by our time in the military. So we started a podcast called, along with my wife, who helps to produce it as well. She helped me come up with the idea because we wanted to do a podcast. We didn't really know what we wanted to talk about, but just like music, like you were saying with Loretta Lynn, like do a show about something that you know.
Yep.
And so we wanted to talk to different veterans about their mental health journey and their time after service. It's called Veteran X. We've got a season and a half of interviews. It's very difficult to find veterans that struggled with mental health that want to talk about it.
Yes.
So we tried to find the most inspiring vets that we've encountered in our careers to talk about that difficult mental health journey. It is raw. It's definitely not for kids around. And we start every year. Like I wrote the theme music for it, which was a lot of fun.
Very
and then
cool.
we started. You got it right. And then we start off with something called Hey Remember. And so we find some like little niche, silly thing about being in Afghanistan, and we use it to kind of jog the person's memory, right? So so like I think the first one was like, hey, remember the Green Bean Coffee Company, right? Which is like a US based company that would set up like a shack on the base, and they would dole out some of the best like chai lattes and coffees I've ever had, right? They're amazing, right? And they deploy with the American forces, so they were around, and so just has to jog your memory and kind of get you in the zone to chat about things, right? And we talk about mental health, the mental health journey, and then how you manage to deal with things like PTSD, depression, and some of the things that people go through after service. So it's a great
I think that's amazing. We can now further showcase that for us on our platform or through our association. We'd love to do that because I think that's so important. Like, very important. Just education, information, connecting, supporting, sharing. I think that's great. Now, besides that, I know you're also a dad. So I know you have a couple wonderful girls. So congratulations. Without prying, family life, how's family life? What do you guys do? Interests and all that kind of stuff. What do you guys like to do together and stuff like that?
Yeah, we back in, I guess it was 2019, my first daughter, Elizabeth, we call her Libby. She was born. Wonderful little girl. She's so brilliant, very bright. She learned how to speak before she had teeth. I don't know where she gets that from, right? Really, really bright girl. And then our second daughter was born last August. Her name is Madeline.
Nice.
She's a sweetheart too. Like she's just learning how to crawl and get around now. We like to
guitars. You got the guitars laying around for them just in case.
Libby comes down here. Oh yeah, Libby comes down here on the weekend. She loves playing the drums.
Yeah.
She's not terribly good at it yet, but she's great. Loves strumming guitars and playing around down here for sure. They're both
got to get them in there early, right?
Yeah, exactly. We like getting out in the community. Like we got the Mare Below Bog. We got a lot of really great stuff going on out here in the east end of Ottawa. So we love hanging out together and going and doing stuff as a family.
This has been great, Matt. I just want to let people know that hopefully with the Disability Channel and Matt, we're going to be doing some things together, some great positive things together to help veterans across Ontario, Canada, and hopefully the world. There's a world of opportunities, and I think it's on my behalf, I feel obligated to give back and to do whatever we can to help you guys, because that's what you guys did to help us.
Oh, you've been such a wonderful supporter of the Ottawa Veterans Task Force, and I see so many synergies between the great work that you're doing with the Disability Channel and the work that we're trying to do here at the City of Ottawa, and then kind of get other municipalities on board. It's so important, that all levels of government work to support our veterans, and so your support of what we're up to makes a world of difference, Jay.
That's great, Matt. And if people want to find out more about either your band, where could they go, or the task force, or want to enter politics? And before I let you go, before you give me your information, little piece of advice for an up and coming musician.
That's a great question. All right, so just write. You don't have to listen to what other people. You don't have to listen to my advice. Everybody kind of makes their own way, right? And that's the title of Hearts and Mind's second record is Find Your Own Way. There's no single path to success or success how you define it, right? You don't have to try and squeeze yourself into a genre. I've got this project called the Area 51 Test Pilots, where myself and a buddy of mine, we haven't released the record yet. We're working on it right now. We kind of try and do things that are very different. Mash genres together. As long as what you're making is true to you, it's going to be good. It's going to be something that you're going to enjoy and other people are going to enjoy, for sure.
That's great, Matt. And if you want to check out Hearts and Mind, where can they go to the website?
So we're available on Spotify, Apple Music, on Facebook. It's Hearts with an ampersand, MINES, like landmines. Bit of a play on words from the Hearts and Minds campaign.
Yeah, wow.
So Hearts and Minds, all one word with an ampersand for the and. And if you want to learn more about the work that the Ottawa Veterans Task Force is doing, you can check out my political website, which is Matthew Luloff. .ca. You can also find me on Facebook at Matthew Luloff.
That's great. I want to thank you, and I want to thank your team. I want to thank Jordan and everybody. You guys have been so helpful connecting. And when I found out that you were a musician, oh wow, no wonder we connected. Like, this is great. So I'm gonna. And if you guys ever play maybe closer to Toronto, let us know, and we'll come out with a production. Or if we're in Ottawa, which hopefully we will be soon, we'll come out and shoot you guys. So again, on the show today, we had musician, counselor, and combat vet, Matthew Luloff from Ottawa. Matt, I really thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy. We're going to be in touch. I will send you the link. I'll send you the pictures. We'll connect on social media, and we're going to come to your next event. So stay tuned. I'm going to be back. I'm going to wrap the show. I got a couple of announcements to make. But again, Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Good to see you, Jay. Thanks so much, eh?
All right. Okay, we'll be right back from Wild Child Records.
Are you currently on ODSP? If you're interested in social media marketing, TV production, podcasting, or getting off assistance, please contact Jay Stoyan at 647-339-6847 or Jay at thedisabilitychannel.ca. The Disability Channel, showcasing abilities.
Welcome back to the show. What a show that was. That was great. We had on counselor, musician Matt Luloff. He's doing great things. He's a combat vet. He's doing great things for the veterans as they're transitioning from the battlefield to the workforce. Hopefully, we're going to be assisting them up in Ottawa. Do check out our website. Do enroll in our employment programs in Ontario. We help persons with disabilities and veterans get off assistance, get some skills, get a job, keep their integrity, reason to get out of bed. Again, you're watching Wild Child Records. I'm Jay Stoyan. We'll see you next time.